I cheated on my husband, now he refuses to pay child support for my affair baby, and is demanding a divorce. Hey Reddit fam, I'm Amber, a 26-year-old girl. For the past 3 years I've been dating Derek, who is 27. Our relationship has been pretty typical. We've had our fair share of fights like any other couple, but we always patch things up. But recently, I made a mistake that caused Derek to disappear from my life, leaving me completely confused. Who knew that dating a wealthy guy would cause such a huge rift? I never imagined that one mistake could destroy our relationship. I met Derek while working as a model for a big brand ad campaign. He was also one of the models, but there was something intriguing about him that drew me in. We hit it off during a break and realized we had a lot in common. Beyond modeling, our bond deepened as we exchanged numbers and soon evolved from friendship. Our time together was filled with joy, adventure, and a deep emotional connection that I never thought possible given my hectic schedule. Derek became my partner in crime, my confidant, and my best friend, and I couldn't have been happier. Our relationship has taught me the value of taking risks and being open to unexpected connections. I'm grateful for the authentic bond we've built as models. We relied on landing as many gigs as possible to cover our bills and expenses. Luckily, we were both successful in our careers, so finances weren't an issue. But everything changed when the pandemic hit and we suddenly found ourselves struggling to make ends meet. To ease the financial burden, we made the decision to move in together and pool our resources. At first it felt more like having a roommate with minimal intrusion into each other's lives. Together we managed to get through the financial challenges and make do with our limited savings, but very soon we started having petty fights about who washed the dishes, who cooked the food, etc., etc. I realized that Derek was just a pretty face and did not like to participate in any of the household chores, and I hated the way he managed his money. I found it frustrating to constantly be picking up after him and covering for his lack of responsibility. Eventually, I had to have a conversation with him about our expectations and boundaries when it came to sharing responsibilities and managing finances. I told him that we needed to find a better way to share responsibilities. He agreed to clean up his act and make sure he did his share of the responsibility, and I was satisfied and happy, thinking that maybe he didn't know how to live with another person. I was hoping to see some changes in his habits and see the positive impact of our conversation. Unfortunately, it became clear that our financial values and priorities were too different for us to continue to live harmoniously together. I was feeling anxious and overwhelmed with the amount of never-ending tasks around the house, and Derek was not the kind of person from whom I could expect any kind of help or responsibility for household chores. It became increasingly clear that our living situation was unsustainable, as our different financial values and priorities caused constant tension. I knew that I just had to hold my breath until this pandemic was over and everything was back to normal so that I could ask Derek to leave. I knew in my mind that this relationship was over from my end, and I just had to wait for the right time to break the news to Derek. It was clear that prioritizing my own mental health and happiness was crucial to making this decision, even if it meant having difficult conversations with Derek about our future living arrangements. I knew that delaying the inevitable conversation was only prolonging both of our suffering, but I also needed to ensure that I was in the right frame of mind to deal with the aftermath of ending the relationship. It was time to gather my courage and have an honest conversation with Derek about moving forward separately. With the pandemic coming to an end and the world slowly returning to normal, the industry was opening up to resume work and I had an audition for a role. In one of the television series that was going to be streamed on Netflix. It was a big deal as it would mean that I would have a substantial amount of money which would help me with my finances and probably allow me to move out and not live with Derek anymore. I made sure that I was well prepared and dressed appropriately for my audition. I did not tell Derek about it as I did not want to have another fight over petty things and ruin my mood. He was still asleep when I walked out the door, and I was grateful for his partying habits which would help me get out of the door. As I left the house, I couldn't help but feel relieved that I wouldn't have to deal with Derek's negativity before my big moment. I knew that focusing on my performance and avoiding any unnecessary stress was key. I arrived at the audition feeling confident and ready to showcase my talent. As I walked into the audition room, I felt a sense of empowerment knowing that I had taken control of my own happiness and success. After the first round, we were asked to wait for the results of the short-listed candidates. I started to interact with one of the guys auditioning for the lead role. His name was Darius, and he would be a pretty face for the lead if that was what they were looking for. He kept telling me that the audition was just a formality as he already knew that the lead was his. I wondered where he got all that confidence from. Or maybe he was just bluffing to make sure that he was cutting down the competition by spreading these false rumors that would help him get the part. I was done with the look test and had to wait another 2 hours for the next round. We were told to go out for lunch and come back after 2 hours. I decided to go to a nearby cafe and wait there. As I was walking, Darius, who I had spoken to earlier, asked me if I wanted to join him for lunch. As I had nothing better to do, I said, why not? It would be better to spend these 2 hours talking to someone instead of sipping coffee all alone. He asked me to wait at the main entrance as he had to get his car from the car park. I was about to lose him when the window rolled down and Darius asked me to get in. I couldn't believe he was driving a Porsche. I quickly got in, and we went to a fancy restaurant for lunch. We talked about various things during lunch. Darius told me about his family history and how he was related to the makers of the series. He mentioned how proud he was of his heritage. It was fascinating to know how much of a snob he was. It seemed like he was rubbing it in my face that he came from a privileged family and had nothing to worry about in life. I tried to keep up the facade of being interested in him to use it to my advantage, but deep down I couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy of his seemingly perfect life. Despite my envy, I knew that maintaining a positive relationship with Darius could potentially benefit me in the future. We came back for the next round of auditions. After 2 hours, I got his number as he mentioned that he would be able to get me a good part in this series as he liked me. He asked me if I was single, and I lied that I wasn't seeing anyone at the moment. Obviously, there was no way I was going to mention Derek as I had intended to dump him as soon as I got a decent project to work on. He asked me if I would have a problem going out with him that night after the auditions. I figured why not? I could just make an excuse and tell Derek that the audition went long. Not that I owed him an explanation. The more we talked, the more I found myself genuinely interested in getting to know him better. He was a nice guy behind all that facade of being born with a golden spoon. I decided to go for it and agreed to the date. After the audition, I was pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed our conversation and felt a connection forming. It seemed like taking a chance on this new situation might be worth it. After all, I was excited to see where things could go with Darius and felt optimistic about the potential of a meaningful relationship with him. Optimistic about the potential for a meaningful connection. Opening myself up to new possibilities felt refreshing and invigorating. Darius took me to a Michelin-starred restaurant for dinner. I knew it was very difficult to get a last-minute reservation at restaurants like this. Plus, we were seated in the private section with a view of the entire city. I could not believe I had struck gold by talking to the right person. My day could not have been more perfect. I was happy to have made the right choice and could see that this one decision could change my life. The night took a very romantic turn as Darius became more and more interested in getting to know me as a person. I wanted to make sure that I presented the best version of myself so that he would be blown away and start dating me right away. I was thrilled at the thought of possibly starting a relationship with someone as rich and handsome as Darius. I knew this could be the beginning of something really special. The beginning of something really special. I wanted to make a lasting impression on him and show him all the qualities that make me unique. I was excited about the potential of a new beginning with someone who seemed genuinely interested in me. I was ready to take the opportunity and see where things could go with Darius. I knew that I had to strike a balance between being interested and playing hard to keep him hooked. Very soon the heat turned on and led to passionate kisses between us. I knew that I had to stop before it ended up being just a one-night stand. I stopped and asked him if we could take it slow. Yeah, I made sure he dropped me off a little far away from my apartment as I didn't want to run into Derek. I kissed Darius goodbye and told him I would talk to him soon as I walked towards the apartment. I noticed the lights were out. There was no way in hell that Dirk would have slept this early. I unlocked the door and turned on the lights to see that the house was empty. I couldn't believe we had been robbed, and in a locked house too. I was pretty sure I had just unlocked the door so I could see that the house was empty. I couldn't believe we had been robbed, and in a locked house too. I was pretty sure that I had just unlocked the door, so there was no way that everything could be missing without even unlocking the house. My heart sank as I realized that not only were my valuables gone, but my sense of security had been shattered. I quickly called the police to report the burglary and began to assess the extent of the damage. I began to search each and every room to make sure that it was not a hoax. Even if it was, there was no way that all the furniture and other stuff could be shoved into any room and make it look like a robbery. I started calling Derek to let him know that the house was completely empty. He kept rejecting my calls, which made me even more frustrated than I already was. I knew he was irresponsible, but he should at least pick up my calls to see if it was something urgent. I was too stressed out, so I decided to cool myself off by splashing cold water on my face to calm my nerves. I saw a note taped to the bathroom mirror in Dirk's handwriting that said I couldn't believe what I was reading. I kept pinching myself so that I could wake up from this horrible experience. I was so scared that I was going to die. Unfortunately, it didn't work because it was happening in real time. My heart sank as I realized that Derek had left me without any explanation. The note on the mirror was a cruel reminder of his cowardice. I quickly realized that Derek was the one who had moved everything out of the house. It wasn't a robbery as I had assumed. He had left me feeling hurt and confused. I knew I had to face the situation head on and find out what had gone wrong in our relationship for him to take such drastic steps without even a conversation with me. I sat on the floor with a note in my hand, unable to even process what had happened. My day had started out on such a good note, and everything was going so well. Actually, it was going great until I got home. I was left with no clothes, no food to cook, nothing to sleep on, and no toiletries. It was so late at night, there was not much I could do except keep calling Derek and asking him what the hell happened. I could even come up with the scenario that he must have owed money to people and there's a scheme in it and he took everything. That was the only logical explanation I could come up with right now. I still don't understand the note he left. I was the one who took care of most of the finances in this house, so why the hell would he want to get rid of me? I was the one who was tired of him and his spending habits. I need to find out what his note meant and why he would leave me in this situation. Maybe he thought I was the one causing the financial problems and wanted to start over without me. I guess I'll just have to wait until he decides to come back and explain himself. It's frustrating not knowing the whole story. But maybe it's for the best that he's out of my life for good. Maybe he felt guilty about his spending habits and wanted to protect me from any financial burden. Or maybe he thought that by leaving he was giving me the freedom to live my life without him holding me back. I tried to sleep, but as you know, it's impossible to sleep on a cold and hard floor, so I decided to write a post that would help me kill time and also help me understand how things changed so drastically. I was the one who wanted to leave Derek and go my separate way. But plot twist, before I could even get to the point of kicking Derek out, he emptied the house by leaving me a note that gave me no context at all. I hope that anyone out there who has read my story so far has a clue as to what happened and why I can't make sense of it. Why would a guy who literally had to do nothing around the house and blame his girlfriend for everything just up and leave? I would like to ask if anyone has any idea what could have gotten into Derek to just leave without any explanation. The note he left doesn't really give much perspective into his actions. I have been racking my brain trying to figure out what could have triggered this sudden departure. It's hard to understand why someone would leave without any explanation, especially after being so dependent on one's partner. I was hoping to get some explanations from you guys regarding Derek's actions, and give me some logical reasoning behind it. Also, please suggest what would be the course of action for me going forward. Thank you for taking the time to read so far, awaiting your suggestions and answers. Update. Hello all, I did it. I am back with a better understanding as to what happened after being left with an empty house without any explanation from Derek. The next few days were me trying to get in touch with Derek to find out what caused him to leave. Despite several attempts, Derek remained unreachable, leaving me feeling frustrated and confused about his unexpected absence. I could not shake the feeling that something serious must have happened for him to cut off all communication so abruptly. Why did he have to leave with all the stuff in the house? It was determined that he was not in trouble, and there was no logical explanation for his disappearance. I decided to reach out to mutual friends in hopes of gaining some insight into his sudden disappearance, but none of them had heard from Derek either. leaving me even more puzzled and worried. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was a deeper reason behind his sudden disappearance, and I was determined to uncover the truth. Though in my efforts to piece together the puzzle of Derek's disappearance, I found myself hitting dead ends. At every turn, the mystery surrounding his disappearance only intensified. Fueling my determination to uncover the truth behind his sudden absence, I then tried my second best option, which was Darius. He immediately picked up my call and started flirting with me. I did not want to show him that I was desperate for the role, but I tried to convey that point without making it seem that way. Darius asked me if I would be willing to meet him, as he would like to get to know me better. I was, of course, over the moon. I knew that Darius could be the one person who could get me out of this situation. I knew that Darius could be the one person who could get me out of the mess I was in. He told me that he would pick me up in the morning and asked me to keep the whole day free as he was planning something big, and wanted to make sure that I was completely available and present to enjoy these moments, as he wanted to spend as much time with me as possible. I told him that of course I would be available, and I was also keen to get to know him better. After talking to him, I quickly ordered a dress suitable for going out with Darius tomorrow. He picked me up at 7:30 in the morning and told me that he would pick me up at 7:30 in the morning, and told me that it was going to be a really long day. I was obviously excited and started thinking ahead that maybe this could lead to something more than just friendship. Hell, I prayed that it would be more than just friendship. We drove to a cabin in the woods which was quite cozy and romantic. We spent the whole day getting to know each other and telling childhood stories. We got to know each other a lot. 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 We spent the day getting to know each other and telling childhood stories. We even went hunting and set up camp by the lake. I had the most romantic date I had had in a long time. Things got heated between us when we were alone in the woods. The chemistry between us was sizzling hot and undeniable. I was very confident that I had smitten Darius, and very soon he would want to officially date me. It was almost midnight when he dropped me off at home. I would have offered him to come in if I had the furniture at home. I lied to him that I was moving out of here soon and the place was a mess, so I would like to invite him to my new place once I had it set up. He told me that there was no rush and that I could take my time until I felt it was safe for me to call him home. He said that he would wait patiently. I thanked him for his understanding, kissed him goodbye, and walked to the door. I tried to unlock the door, but it kept insisting that the password was wrong. I pulled out my phone to check and see if I could unlock it using the app on my phone. When I pulled out my phone, I could see calls from my landlord that I had missed due to the bad service in the woods. She left a message saying that since we had broken the lease without notice, she had no choice but to not give us the deposit back. I did not understand what she meant by breaking the lease without notice, and I was about to call her to tell her that it might all be a misunderstanding, but it was after midnight, so I would have to wait until tomorrow to clear up any misunderstanding that had occurred. I had no place to stay, so I decided to stay in a hotel for the night and figure it out tomorrow, as I was too tired to deal with it right now. I called my landlord the next morning, and she told me that she was very upset with the way I had handled this whole situation. If I was unhappy with the place, I should have mentioned it to her and not let my boyfriend call her and abuse her. If we were going to vacate the house, then we should have done it by letting her know, and it was a bad thing to do it without giving her a heads up. I tried to explain to her that I was. She told me that she would have believed me if I had at least had my clothes in the house, but the fact that it was empty made me look like a liar. I told her that there was something I could do to get the house back since I had nowhere else to go. She told me that she had already found a new tenant who would be moving in tomorrow, and there was nothing she could do about it. I thanked her for understanding my situation and not giving me a bad review as a tenant so that I could at least afford to find another house soon. I asked if she could at least give me some time to find a new place to live, but she insisted that the new tenant would be moving in today, so there was nothing she could do to help me. I left feeling grateful for her understanding, but also worried about finding a new place to live on such short notice. I did not get a part in the series which came as I had been in constant contact with Darius, and he had never let me know that I might not get a part. I kept asking him about the details of the next rounds, but he kept brushing me off and telling me not to worry about it as he would take care of it. She was sure that I was going to be one of the main characters and wanted to know what character I was playing. When I told her that I hadn't gotten a part yet, she started laughing and told me that she would keep it a secret if I didn't want to reveal it yet. I didn't understand why she was so insistent that I get one of the main characters. She told me to stop acting because she already knew that this show was being directed by one of Derek's very good friends, so there was no way I wasn't going to be in the show. I also knew this friend she was talking about. She laughed at me and said I could continue to deny all I wanted, but she already knew that Darius was going to play the lead and Derek was going to play the second lead in the series. I was speechless. I had no idea that Darius was Derek's friend. Is that why Darius deliberately approached me and kept toying with me? He was deliberately keeping me busy so that Derek could carry out his plans to empty the house and call my landlord, all while they were playing with me, and I was so stupid to fall into their trap. As I processed this new information, I could not help but feel a mixture of surprise and anger at it was clear that they had been testing me all along, that the sparks between me and Darius were not real, and I couldn't believe I had been so easily fooled. The betrayal stung, but it also made me realize the importance of being more careful in the future. Darius really wanted to give me the part, but when I told him I was single, things changed. Apparently, he called Derek and told him that his girlfriend, for whom he had literally begged his friend to get her the part, was about to dump him and flirt with him. That was when they decided to keep me busy and saw that they could make sure that I would get the shock of my life when I got home. I had no idea that all this was going on behind my back. When I finally got home, I was completely blindsided by the betrayal and deception that had taken place. It was a painful realization that those closest to me had orchestrated such a hurtful situation, and I felt a mixture of anger, sadness, and disbelief as I tried to process the situation. It was a harsh reminder that not everyone has your best interests at heart, even those you trust the most. They announced the new series with the entire cast. They had a big event to introduce the fresh faces playing each character. I sat in my new cramped apartment watching it live and wondering if I could have been one of the main characters. I mean, if and only if I hadn't flirted with Darius and told him about Derek. Things would have been different with Derek, but I don't blame myself for hiding the fact that I was single because I wanted to leave Derek once I had a stable income. There was no love between us and we were always fighting. I wanted to get out before it became toxic. I still don't understand what I did so wrong to let these guys ruin my life and career. Was that Derek was testing me in all of this by not letting me know about Darius and seeing if it was worth his time and money. As a marketing strategy, they released a short story to get the audience hooked on the show. I couldn't believe they made a short story out of the scenario of me flirting with Darius and made sure to use my original name so everyone in the industry knew it was about me. No wonder no one wanted to work with me anymore. No wonder no one wanted to work with me anymore. The girls were giving me looks and telling me to stay away from their boyfriends and husbands as they thought I was here just to steal their men away, as if I had nothing better to do in life. The tension on set was palpable and I could feel the walls closing in on me. I was being removed. I felt unfairly judged and ostracized from the projects I had previously been a part of, which led to a significant decrease in opportunities for collaboration. Rumors and gossip spread like wildfire, tarnishing my reputation in the industry. Despite my best efforts to prove myself, the negative perception persisted, making it increasingly difficult to rebuild my professional relationships. The situation became so toxic that I eventually had to consider seeking opportunities outside of the industry altogether. I tried working as a barista and a staffer. It was such a difficult job. I was being called names and I couldn't take the dirty stares from men. There was no applause or recognition for the work I was doing. I had to put in 8 to 10 hours of intense work and get paid peanuts. I was working much harder than when I was modeling. I was still getting yelled at and there were always complaints from customers because I would not let them touch me. I was starting to lose hope and I could see that there was not much I could do. I just had to bear it for the time being until things cooled down and I could start working in the glam industry again. I knew it would be hard but not impossible. I just had to stay optimistic and fight. I kept motivating myself as there was not much I could do to get through it. A few weeks later I started sending out my portfolio but was rejected as no one wanted to mess with Darius and his family. I had to kiss my modeling and acting career goodbye. Goodbye thanks to Dirk and his jerk of a friend Darius. He used his family influence to make sure I was not on the short list of any of the other companies he was doing business with. I was furious at both of them for ruining my life. I did not know what to do next in my life. All these days I was motivating myself to pull through. I had been modeling since I was 18, and it was the only thing I knew how to do with my life. One mistake had ruined my reputation and all the hard work I had put in to get here. Everyone does it and it's not a crime. I was just unfortunate to get involved with the wrong person, but it's not like Derek and his friend are saints. I'm sure they must have done unethical things to get where they are, right? It's frustrating how the consequences of one's mistake can overshadow all the hard work and effort put in. And it's a harsh reality that power and influence can sometimes be used against us unfairly. But it's important to remember that everyone makes mistakes and no one is perfect. Not even those who are untouchable. Untouchable. I couldn't believe how quickly my whole world came crashing down because of one mistake. It was a harsh reminder of the cutthroat nature of the industry where power and influence can make or break a person's career. In times like these, it's crucial to stay resilient and learn from our mistakes in order to come back stronger. Despite the setbacks, it's important to keep pushing forward and not let one mistake define our future success. Thank you. I know that I may not have made the best choices in my life, but I feel like I deserve to have a decent life without being judged for flirting with a guy to advance my career. It wasn't like I slept with him to get a part. I'm sure if Derek were in my shoes, he would have taken advantage of the fact that someone could get him a part in a show. I still don't accept the fact that I did something wrong to get a part in a show. I did something wrong to get a role. The only thing I did wrong was not letting Derek know how I was feeling living with him. Apart from that, I tried everything I could to move forward in my career and get out of all the relationships that were sour and rotten. I believe that opportunities should be earned through hard work and talent, not through personal connections. It is important to maintain professionalism and integrity in all aspects of life, including career advancement. I am not going to give up just because of two jerks. I am going to pick up my life and show them that I don't need connections or influence to make it big. Thanks again for the encouragement you guys are giving me. All right, that was a fun story. Now let's move on to another exciting one. Stay tuned and let's dive in. I am 27 and my husband is 29. We have 3 children, a 5-year-old boy, a 16-month-old girl, and a 4-month-old boy. 2 years ago, I had an affair with a guy who was doing work on our house, which resulted in a pregnancy that I didn't know about at the time. The affair lasted about a week, and I regret it deeply now. The whole time I never stopped loving my husband and actually became more attentive to him while it was going on. After being with the other guy several times, I ended it suddenly. It happened when my son, who I had just put down for a nap, started crying while I was with the guy. When I heard that I was with the guy, I looked at the guy and thought to myself that I was the one who was having an affair with the guy, and I thought to myself that I was the one who was having an affair with the guy. I looked at the guy and thought to myself, my God, what am I doing? I pushed him away and ended things right then. And there he was, stunned and apologetic, and I told him to leave my house immediately. When I later found out I was pregnant, I assumed the child was my husband since I had only been with the other guy on 2 occasions without protection. I know it only takes once, but our encounters happened at a time of the month when I thought it was safe. We had our daughter, who was precious and a real daddy's girl. Then, a little over 4 months ago, I gave birth to our second son, after which I had my tubes tied because we only wanted 3 children. The pregnancy was complicated and I was on bed rest for the last 2 months due to preeclampsia, during which time my husband was incredibly supportive and made sure I was well taken care of and that all my needs were met for my health and that of our baby. Fortunately, everything turned out well and our son is now 4 months old and looks and acts just like his father. Our marriage seemed to be going smoothly and I was completely at peace. Seemed to be going smoothly and I had completely put the foolish mistake I made 2 years ago out of my mind, not even thinking about it. However, a few weeks ago on a Saturday morning, my husband approached me and said he needed to discuss something important with his parents there to watch the kids. We went into the bedroom for privacy. I could tell by his expression that it was serious. It startled me when my husband revealed that he had DNA tested all 3 children a few months ago. I was taken aback as he had done this without consulting me before. I could respond. He said something that left me speechless. He told me that our daughter was not his child. He said it calmly, and suddenly leaving me speechless with my mouth hanging open. I felt my breath getting heavier as if I was going to faint, so I sat down on the edge of the bed trying to find words but failed. He advised me not to deny or lie, claiming he knew the truth about the father. He insisted that I contact him for child support. Once we were divorced. Hearing this devastated me, and I collapsed on the bed. I collapsed back on the bed, sobbing uncontrollably with my hands covering my face. My husband knelt down beside me and retrieved a folder from under the dresser and handed it to me. When I opened it, I saw that it contained divorce papers, and I lost all composure. I cried so hard I couldn't breathe properly while he remained calm throughout. When I asked him how he found out, he refused to disclose, saying it was irrelevant. He only revealed that he had known for some time but waited until I recovered from my condition. I asked if his parents knew, and he confirmed that they knew, which hurt deeply as I had a close relationship with his mother, who had not mentioned anything to me. Since then I have been deeply depressed. I have asked for forgiveness and tried everything to make him reconsider, but he refuses and will not talk to me. He will not even let me explain my side, saying he does not care why I did it. He says he cannot stay married to a cheater and nothing I do or offer will change his mind. He just wants a smooth divorce and to stay friendly for the sake of our 2 children. He insists he will not be a father figure to our daughter. The other day, in anger, I asked him how he could give up his daughter. I quickly apologized and admitted I shouldn't have said it. I acknowledged my responsibility and his feelings, but I wanted to keep our family together. He said I should have thought of that before I was unfaithful. He is right, but I can't change the past. I would give anything for a chance to do things differently now, a chance to do things differently. Right now he is still in the house, but he has moved into our son's room and sleeps on the extra twin bed. I hear them talking every night, and it hurts to think of what I have done. Besides that, not much has changed. He is still his cheerful self and a loving father. Sometimes I feel like we are making progress, only for him to bring up getting a lawyer and dashing my hopes. I am in panic mode and willing to do anything to fix our marriage. I am taking it day by day and hoping for the best update. Things have really gone downhill for me since I first posted. Like I said before, as far as I am concerned, my husband is the real father of my daughter, and the only one she has ever known and loved. He loves her too and has not treated her any differently since this all went down. He has been telling me daily to get a lawyer and reach out to the biological father to have him step up and start being a father to my daughter. I refuse and keep telling him he is her father and I would not call the bio good for my daughter. Surprise, my husband did something I never dreamed he would do. He called the owner of the company that did the work on our house and told him what was going on. The owner is the father of the guy I had the affair with, and his son works for him. When the owner found out, he was very angry with his son and very apologetic to my husband. He promised my husband he would make this right and force his son to step up and take financial responsibility for my daughter. He also reimbursed my husband for all the work they did on our house, which was considerable since they did a lot of work on our house and my husband had to pay for it all. Did on our home, which was substantial. Since that time, her attorney has been calling and leaving me messages about getting DNA testing done, but I have not returned any of her calls. Then today, I received a certified letter from the attorney asking me to contact her as soon as possible, stating that if I do not respond within 7 days, she would file a paternity challenge on behalf of her client. I do not want the biological father in our lives, and wish he would just go away instead of breaking up my family. Is there anything I can do to stop this? Second update: I spoke with the attorney of the person I had an affair with, and I have scheduled an appointment for this upcoming Wednesday to have my daughter's DNA tested. I asked if they could use the results from the test my husband did, but they said they couldn't. When I told my husband about this, all he said was fine. He acts like he doesn't care, but I know he loves our daughter because he interacts with her as usual. I believe his behavior stems from pride and not wanting to financially support another man. This made me wonder if there is a way for the biological father to pay child support but then relinquish his parental rights to my husband. This could compensate my husband for raising our daughter. If we could arrange this, I believe my husband would agree to maintain the status quo. Final update: I have received many requests for an update, so I wanted to come back and provide one. A lot has happened since my last post, and I will try to catch you up from where I left off. Off after receiving the DNA results, the biological father of my middle child filed a petition with the court for visitation rights until a custody hearing could be held. The judge granted supervised visitation but noted that since my husband was legally recognized as her father, custody would not be granted unless my husband gave up his parental rights. I was hopeful when I heard this, thinking it might make my husband reconsider. However, when I spoke to him, he mentioned that his lawyer had already been in contact with the biological father's lawyer, and that he had been in contact with the biological father's lawyer. I begged him to change his mind, but he refused. He said he loved my daughter but told me this was what was best for her and for everyone involved. I told him I didn't want the biological father in her life, and he told me I should have thought about that before I cheated. I told him I would give him all the child support checks I received from the biological father and he could do whatever he wanted with the money. He looked at me and asked if I was serious. I said yes, I was, and he told me I was a sick person. My husband ended up signing away his parental rights, so now the biological father is paying child support and has 25% custody of my daughter. I am so upset about this, I can't even function. My husband, on the other hand, acts like he is relieved by the whole thing. Our final divorce hearing is scheduled for the first week of next month. However, we have already sold our house and we are back living with my parents. I'm living with my parents again for now. My husband took his proceeds and bought another house just down the street from where we lived. I've agreed to everything he wanted in the divorce, so the hearing will just be a formality. I'm hoping between now and then he'll have a change of heart, but that's looking less likely with each passing day. I thought since he's no longer financially responsible for my daughter he'd change his mind, but he hasn't, so in less than a month I'll be divorced. I have been in a constant state of stress since this all started and feel like I have aged 20 years. Meanwhile, my husband acts like he is walking on air without a care in the world. I love this man and always will, and I miss him so much. I know I will never find another one like him, so I am not even going to try. I hope in time I can forgive myself and stop feeling so depressed about life. Thank you for all the support I have received here.